Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. Monthly Report. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers-McSwine.
We want to welcome you to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana Monthly Report Show. Thank you for joining us again this week. This week we are taping from the Westin in Indianapolis, Indiana, at the Governor's Council for People with Disabilities. And today, Florence, I tell you, it is a great day to be here. And we have a great guest that's coming on, Mr. Michael Lopp out of Evansville, Indiana. And he's a subscriber to the service, and he has a lot of information to share. Now, for those of you who have never watched our show, you want to know about the National Federation of the Blind Newsline. What is it? Well, it's a service that assists individuals to help read newspapers, magazines, TV guide listings, audible instructions on how to access the service. Once again, it is a free service. Some of the devices that you can use to access the service are like your landline phones. For seniors, they still love to use the landline. And a lot of the population likes to use the smartphones. And we have services within the blind community where individuals can access the Newsline through using the Victor Reader Stream. That's one of my favorites, and also the digital talking player from the Indiana State Library. So, Florence, what are some of your popular magazines that you like to use?
Well, some of my popular magazines, Lee, are Indianapolis Monthly, Indianapolis Business Journal, Guidepost magazines, Preventive magazines, Family Fun, Family Circle, anything that has to do with family, has to do with health. WebMD is one of my favorite magazines. I have a list of favorites, Lee.
Well, I know a lot of seniors like the AARP magazine and the AARP newsletter.
Well, I like
and during this particular time of season, this Christmas season, we have some additional circulars that we placed on the Newsline, NFB Newsline service. The Target and Walmart circulars are several of the great circulars that we have, and we'll add additional circulars just for the holiday season. So join us on the NFB Newsline publications. So the numbers on the screen, use those numbers, give us a call, and we are sure that you will enjoy reading these publications and accessing them in a format that's accessible for you.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I use NFB Newsline when reading Hammond Northwest Times.
Using NFB Newsline, I read the Christian Science magazine.
Dad, you read Jerusalem Post too.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Live the life you want. Read NFB Newsline.
It's free. Thousands of Indiana residents feel isolated from the world due to vision problems. Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm blind. I read Stars and Stripes on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline.
Welcome everyone to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana Monthly Report. We are here today with a special guest. Again, we just have so many great guests. But this guest here, he's a very special individual from southern Indiana, Evansville, Indiana. Florence, we found him to be a very interesting person.
He is, very.
And so with that, we're going to introduce you to Mr. Michael Loft. How are you doing, Michael?
Doing very well, actually.
So we are here at the Governor's Council for People with Disabilities Conference in Indianapolis, Indiana today. And we just want to thank you for taking the time out to come and interview with us about the National Federation of the Blind Newsline service. You're a subscriber to the service.
Oh yes, Newsline is invaluable for me in many different ways. Up till June of this year, I worked for 13 years with the Tri-State Better Business Bureau in Evansville. And it was the tool that allowed me to stay on top of what businesses were doing. It was opening, closing, merging, getting arrested. Yes, that happens. So just an amazing wealth of information to stay on top and help me do my job in that capacity. Now, at the age of 55, I have taken a brave initiative to go totally self-employed. And I started a company called Effective Communications. And so what we are doing is building websites that are accessible by blind and visually impaired persons, helping companies who need to make their websites accessible, as well as helping any blind and low vision people actually build their own websites. So that has been the project, and Newsline, again, is invaluable because I'm learning about changes in technology. The new rage is voice recognition, the ability to use your voice. And even Newsline doing that very shortly using the Amazon device, which we call Lady A, so we don't activate them, so people can get their news via voice command. So that's going to be a great tool for those who may be challenged by phone systems or the iOS app, which I use, but that they can actually use their voice to navigate it. So amazing information for me for technology, just local news, TV listings, because I'm intrigued with the ability to use my voice to change the television to particular shows and channels. And so I think by 2020, we're going to see an amazing growth in using your voice to navigate technology, make it much easier for many people.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, Michael, I'm blown away right now. You are computer tech. You are just up on everything. I'm gonna ask you a little bit though about this NFB Newsline service that that we have. Your preference, your magazines, for instance, your newspapers. You have any favorites?
Well, I follow the Indianapolis Star and the Evansville Courier Press on a local level, and any of the tech magazines. Because yes, I am a geek, so I have quite a few in there. Some other newspapers, the Belleville, Illinois News Democrat, because that's where I hail from. Also Chicago, sometimes Robert Feeder talks a lot about radio and broadcasting, and that is my degree, so a lot of interest there. So just so many resources, and I use the iPhone and just bookmark the items of interest, and I use it 3-4 times a week.
Mm-hmm. So did you download the iPhone app, the Newsline app?
Yes, I use the iPhone app and beta tester for the Amazon Echo to be able to do things with your voice. I think that's going to make it easier for a lot of people, because I do turn folks onto the service and they are amazed. It's getting them to learn how to navigate it. Because what I found is someone who's newly blinded, if you find that one thing that they're passionate about, it might be reading the obituaries. For one guy I remember, it was giving him the ability to monitor sports. Okay. It changed his world. It opened up his life to anything being possible.
Now, so now we are NFB Newsline, so are you totally blind, Michael?
Yes, I have been blind since birth. My mother had rubella, also known as German measles, in the first trimester, which damages the eyes.
And so, with your blindness, it's apparent that it hasn't held you back.
I try not to let it. I've been fortunate. I loved radio, was able to work in radio broadcasting. continued it into the internet, oversee and help produce podcasts, which is kind of the new form of talk shows and communications. And had a DJ service, going out and playing weddings and reunions and Sweet 16 parties and things of that sort. So, you know, blindness is an obstacle, but it's certainly not in and of itself something to prevent you from living your life.
That's correct.
So with the NFB Newsline and your wealth of knowledge with technology, I'm very interested in that. Amazon too, as it becomes, you know, getting through the beta testing system. But what would you say is the most important aspect of Newsline that you would recommend to someone that hasn't even heard of the service?
Well, that depends on what people are interested in, like I said. So that's one of the first things I ask is, what are you interested in? Is reading the newspaper important? Sports information, just getting the weather, TV listings? Do you just want to know what's on from 7 to 10 p.m.? Myself, one of the big things right now, there are many changes, as we know, Congress and the White House, and a lot of changes coming to things like Social Security, Medicare, different services for the blind. It's going to affect government employees and merchants. So we, as a blind community, need to be on top of that. And Newsline gives me access to my state representatives, so we can talk to them about the important issues and just some other tips on the current legislation that is of importance that we need to be involved with.
Now, you are the developer of our NFB Newsline Indiana website, and you also work with our state information channel. Let's talk a little bit about the state information channel and what the value of that to individuals using the service.
Well, again, that's to keep people informed of all known resources of use and interest to blind and low vision persons. And that includes things like how to contact all of the accessibility centers at all of the Indiana universities and schools. We felt that was important to get in place. Again, the legislators, if you need to advocate for legislation in your state. And we also include the independent living centers throughout the state, because the state is not equal in that way. And there are many counties who really cannot get the quality of assistance for independent living. And that makes the difference for many people who just need a little bit of help to keep them out of a nursing home environment and live independently. So we want people to know of all resources available so that they could live independent and quality lives, letting people know things like where you can get Uber and Lyft, you know, for travel. That's an amazing tool for independence, that you don't have to rely on taxi cab services or know what maybe local subsidized transportation options are available to you to commute in your county and within your towns where that's available. So a great wealth of information. I always want to hear from people. What information do you want and need to make the service work even better for you?
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
Wow, I scored a touchdown when I found sports on NFB Newsline.
I enjoy reading TV guide listings on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind. We read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
I am a blind vendor, and one of the things that I truly miss is reading Vending Times magazine.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
It is a fantastic service.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
We want to welcome everyone back to the National currently. and he's done a lot of good things, as you heard in the first segment. And so, Michael, we want to talk about the path that you followed to get to where you are today as a successful individual in the field of technology. So how was it for you as a child being blind and coming up?
Well, back then it took a while to get into school. I didn't even start school until I was 1 month shy of 10 years old. You oftentimes had to wait 4 years. You couldn't get in your local schools. You either had to go to the state residential school. A lot of that changed, I believe, in around 1979 when there was laws enacted. So that was a big challenge. I had to catch up, do special help, do 3rd grade, skip right to 5th grade. So I made it through school in 10 years. But, I had an IQ like 168. I thought, what a waste of talent and skill. So that certainly took some time to catch up on, and just social challenges, learning how to interact with other people. But I don't know, I had a passion very young that I wanted to work in radio, and that helped me because a lot of people said, well, you can't do that because if you do, they'll hire a sighted person instead of you. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're my educators. Mm-hmm. You're the people that's supposed to be encouraging me to reach out. And so it was a lot of self-determination. Ronald Reagan was an influence on me because I thought, wow, here's someone became the president and he had a radio background. So even if I don't stay in radio, even only if it's something I do for a few years, which actually happened to be about 9, this is a skill that I can take and parlay into other activity. That's exactly what I did. So internet, computers fascinated me, just the ability to read documents like everyone else. So I don't know, it's hard for me to talk about where I was versus other children. I know that late start, had an impact, so I had some catching up to do. But we just always loved music and radio and technology and just pursued my passions. That's what it's about in life. And I encourage, you have children, you're watching this, you have children and you want them to be all they can be, certainly we all do. The key is finding their passion. Whether it's playing a music instrument, singing. I saw the other day a 10-year-old girl that just did an amazing job at singing The Greatest Love of All. So it's all about finding the passion in your child or anyone, newly blinded, what have you, so that they feel good about that and realize the world is their oyster. They can accomplish anything that you want.
Now, you said you saw a 10-year-old sing, what was the name of the song?
Yeah, The Greatest Love of All, Whitney Houston.
Greatest Love of All.
Yeah.
Oh, now, where did you see her sing that at?
Well, that was actually at the NFB Christmas party. The Circle City chapter had a great event, and they gave out many honors to some very accomplished folks. Folks have been giving for over 25 years, helping other blind persons, get acquainted and adjust to blindness and dealing with rehabilitation. But it was a great presentation, and it's always encouraging to hear the struggles and challenges of others, because sometimes you feel like you're on an island and you're all alone and you're the only person experiencing these, and you realize, hey, I'm just one of thousands and we're all walking the same walk. So that's where, an organization like the National Federation of the Blind, and there's others certainly, that helps to meet peers and like-minded people that are just trying to make it out in the world.
Okay, so Florence, would that have been the National Federation of the Blind Circle City chapter, Angel Child Gifting and Service Award?
That would be
That's where you were at. Okay.
That would be it.
Okay, so now dealing in your life, now I know we did you go to a mainstream school, or were you at the blind school, or just where did you actually once you finally got started, did you work in mainstream?
Right, I did most of my schooling at the Illinois School for the Visually Impaired, ISVI, and which I have an issue for some reason with the name visually impaired. I feel like that word is negative, but that is what is used. So I spent most of my time there, and I went to Freeburg High School. I'm originally from Illinois, of course, and so I did that to help me acclimate to college, and it was great for that purpose. So it wasn't such a challenge when I made that transition, into college.
Okay, so your major field of studies in college
was radio.
Yeah. It was radio.
Radio, TV, broadcasting, but they wouldn't let me touch the equipment. I think they were afraid I'd point the cameras at the lights and damage the lenses or something. But we did a lot of radio, and I got a lot of hands-on experience and got to, go to Chicago and meet Jesse Jackson, Greg Kinn, a lot of folks. And, so it was very interesting to meet other people, and they were encouraging. You just never know where your encouragement's going to come from. Mm-hmm. And everyone has a story to tell. You might meet someone and think, well, this person's not very exciting. But if you take the time and listen, you'll be amazed.
That's it.
It's something that they've experienced.
Take the time to listen.
And I'm sure that our producer, Jeff, wouldn't mind you using his camera sometime. So tell me something, Michael. You aspire to do a lot of different things. You started your own business. It took a lot of courage at the age of 55. So where do you plan on going from this point?
Well, in the next 10 years or so, I plan on helping companies promote their message through audio podcasts. It's better for me to stay out of video, let someone else handle that. And I'm doing webinars, helping people use a technology called Zoom Conference so that they can have group meetings with people all over the world to promote their message, talk about whatever, and it's audio and video capability. Again, building websites, and I really want to work creating tutorials to teach other people who have the capability but just need to know where to start, because it's a changing dynamic every few months. The technology's changed just a little bit, but we use a technology called WordPress. So even if you need to promote a website for your church or your alumni association or whatever it may be, or to promote your own business offerings, maybe you sell a few items here and there and you just need a tool to do that. So that's what I'm looking at in the next 10 years, and technology changes and interests change, so that may change along with it, but that's what we're looking at.
Okay, now Michael, now I know that technology is changing, and it's changing so fast. How do you stay up to date on this technology so well?
Well, again, it's reading a variety of publications. Many of them are on NFB Newsline. Just a wealth of technologies, reading about what's new, what people are adopting, because there's a lot of new technologies, but some come and go. Mm-hmm. And what are people adopting? What are the social trends? Where are people going to get their news and information? So that's a constantly changing dynamic, but Newsline is very helpful for me to that purpose, because I'm always I have about 8 publications that they offer that are more in the technology sector. So just, knowing what's going on, it's very important. Maybe Wall Street Journal, whatever you're interested in, kind of knowing the future so that you don't spend a lot of time working on a project where the technology's dying and people have abandoned and moved on to other things. But to me, the excitement is having a disability. There's never been a greater time. We have the ability now to shop, use our phones and buy groceries and have those items delivered to our home, or go to see a friend, or go to a restaurant on our own with Uber and Lyft and other services. GPS capabilities, so if you're traveling, to know where you are and where you're going and how far it is, or oops, I made a wrong turn. Mm-hmm. It's a very good time, but we have to educate people. People have to know that these options are there, and also overcome the fear that they may have.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to overcome this fear that we have. We need to get off and go to break. Matter of fact, our segment of this show is about over with. So, Michael, we want to thank you for coming on, and we look forward to hearing more from you. And thank you very much for the work that you do with the National Federation of the Blind Newsline, Indiana.
Well, thank you. Check it out at nfb-in.org or nfb-newsline, or nfbnewsline-in.org.
That's it. Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
With my failing eyesight, I'm not able to read regular newspapers, and I'm not able to keep up with obituaries.
I've been a homemaker all of my life, but since my vision has failed, I wish I could read my favorite magazines.
Have you heard of the NFB Newsline?
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I am a CFP practitioner, and I happen to be blind. I rely on NFB Newsline to keep me current with Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
Well, it's been a great show. Wouldn't you agree, Lee?
I agree. It's been a great show. Fantastic.
Well, Michael is a wealth of information. And we are looking forward to seeing each one of you back on next week's show, the National Federation of the Blind Newsline, Indiana Monthly Report. And when you think of our show, yes, it is a mouthful, but it's because we have a whole lot to talk about, as Mr. Michael Loft.
Yeah, Michael shared a lot of information, and I tell you, with his growing interest in his own business, and I tell you, one of the amazing parts about Michael in that segment was he didn't start school till he was 10 years old, basically. Mm-hmm. And certainly that I'm glad that laws have changed, particularly in Illinois there, where he's from. But I'm glad to see that this individual has overcome the obstacles, and he has not allowed those obstacles or blindness to hold him back. A very good professional, very good advocate with the National Federation of the Blind.
Certainly is.
Yes. So we want to welcome you up to come back to our show next week and sit with us as we continue to educate individuals and introduce this great service, the National Federation of the Blind Newsline, Indiana Monthly Report. It is a free service. Tell others about it. Have them give us a call.
And I'd like to add our tagline with that. With love, hope, and determination, we transform dreams into reality. So be good to yourself and to others.
The National Federation of the Blind, Indiana Monthly Report. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 317-205-9226. That's 317-205-9226. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.